We've been doing it. It's kind of been organic for us. Um, we started with just like a guest house on our property, and we bought. We had been living downtown in the Jefferson Heights area, and we moved to
Mhm.
this property close to a lot of hiking trails on Lookout Mountain. Uh, um,
Mm.
in I want to say like 2013, and so that is what started our whole journey in Airbnb space. Is we had a little guest house on the property, and at first it needed to be fixed up. Like it wasn't even listed as like finished square footage when we bought it, but we fixed it up, and we had normal renters in there for a couple years, and then I think in 2017 we started it on Airbnb, and it was like somebody was booking it every single night. Like we had 100% occupancy, and of course at the time we didn't realize like we were pricing too low. But yeah, then it's that was the first thing, and then it's just sort of I haven't really tried to grow like deliberately. It's just been word of mouth, and okay, I'll do that project or I'll take that thing on. So you guys are potentially a big key to us changing our thinking in terms of what we're going to be able to do.
Awesome. I'm excited for you. Very
We
cool.
can kind of get started
Yeah,
here. I mean, it's pretty informal, Joel. We just
it's
kind of talk through different topics depending on what people want to talk about. So since you're here, we can talk kind of about what kind of tasks you've been having your virtual professional do, and if you have any like feedback or questions about the whole
yeah.
onboarding process and our tools and stuff. Happy to talk through those things.
No, I didn't know exactly what to expect, right? Because I have never had a VP before, and I am, really this was kind of like an experiment, but it's something that I've thought about for a long time. Like even before I had this business, there was a guy I worked with, and I was on a sales team, and basically he had a VA that only worked for him or something like that. They did appointments because like if uh you can waste time during your day if somebody blows their call. And so he would try to have all of his like calls for the day confirmed. Like, hey, this is,
Mhm.
Susan, I am, Steven's assistant, just wanting to call to confirm your appointment with him today at such and such time. Um, so I've always thought, um, if a sales rep can use it just for their own, they're employed by another company and they're still using a service like this. I've thought like, what could you really do if you had some dedicated professional who is, doing stuff like what you guys provide. So I'd always been interested in it, and it was really fortunate, Harley, meeting you because you guys have a similar enough type of business to where there's overlap. So my onboarding experience so far has just been, can you set up QuickBooks, or do I need to do the setup part of QuickBooks? And then it's simply like just put in all this financial data. That's all we've gotten to so far. So like we're really getting caught up on stuff that I know that I should have had working, and now that it's such a mental relief to know that like I'm getting some foundational things in place that haven't been done simply because I didn't want to do it, or I didn't want to spend the time doing it. And so now to have that is a relief. But yeah, I think that I'm still in that.
Yeah, we're losing you there.
Lose my connection. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, can you guys hear me though? Okay. Um. So yeah. So it's been a good experience. I'm really only a week and a half into this, and so far it's just been setting up QuickBooks Office, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Well, I think Adrian was the whole impetus for you and I getting together with making that post about the guy who was scamming, or in his opinion, not scamming all the local short-term rental people.
Yeah.
So thank you,
Yeah, I
Adrian, for
think
calling
that
him out.
it yeah, I wouldn't have called him out. I was just letting stuff like that go. But it is always interesting to me to see people in Chattanooga like not understand something fundamental like that. It's like this you don't understand what spam is if you don't think this is spam.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally messaging an entire group. But I've made that mistake before, so I'm not speaking as somebody who's completely innocent. Like when we had to do make connections as a sales rep or trying to sell something, we did similar stuff like that. I was a part of a tech startup, and not everyone knew all the protocols and the rules. But if you don't know, you're going to learn the hard way. So I've learned that lesson the hard way already.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel bad. I wasn't like, and Harley will know, like I'm not one to ever want to be the center of attention or cause trouble. It was just I accepted the friends request from that guy because I saw so many other people I knew who were his friends, and so I thought he was legit. And then I thought, oh my goodness, he sent this. Other people probably friended him because they saw I was a friend with him. Because like being a realtor, I knew a lot of people in that group, and so I was like, oh my goodness, I feel so bad that like my reputation could have been a part of this. So I was just trying to put it on there so that like my friends kind of had a heads up, and then it really blew up. That was not the goal.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine though. I think that is something that I've noticed in Chattanooga is pretty regular, that if you call somebody on something really even basic or fundamental, they will uh their feelings will get hurt with just
Mhm.
like here's an example. Are you guys familiar with this property called the Exchange that is right along? It's on the riverfront area, close to like Blue Cross Blue Shield and Cameron Harbor in that area. It's called the
Yeah.
Exchange.
It's like
So
condos, yeah.
yeah, a bunch of condos, and they did a whole building, 24 units that were all zoned to do short-term rentals,
Oh.
right? And so I had some coworkers of mine. These guys are like millionaires that live in California. They've been working in the tech industry for like, 10 plus years, at an executive level. And like they're like, oh man, let me buy a condo to do an Airbnb with in Chattanooga, right? And so I go in there, I talk to him, um, I get a guy who's sincerely interested in buying one of the condos, and he's asking questions like this, like, okay, if I sign up with you guys, what is your marketing plan? Like, how am I gonna get booked? Oh, and how will my annual fees, how do I know they're not going to go up every year? And I just was relaying his very basic questions to the real estate agent, and she acted like I was doing something offensive by asking a question like that. And they're like, we're not doing we're not going to let you know what our marketing plans are. And I'm just like, wow. And then I had other people who were interested. He ended up like buying anyway. I had other people interested in, and I'd bring them to their place. And let me tell you, they got so upset because there was another friend of mine that was going to be the real estate agent. He was going to be the buyer's agent. And they set up their open houses to try to connect people with their own in-house buyer's agent. And so they told me, we don't want to see you again. Like, don't come in here anymore. Like, because if you're not going to use our buyer's agent, you're wasting our time. I brought them 3 buyers, like 3 total buyers, and they treated me like I was a big cancer. And I'm just like, this is the weirdest model I've ever seen. Somebody bringing you business is like a pariah, but like I just had to get used to Chattanooga is a different scene completely than what I was used to.
Where did you live before?
I mean, I lived here, but I was doing business cross country. Like, we didn't really have customers in Chattanooga. We were doing B2B sales or Salesforce CRM as an app product that worked on the Salesforce CRM. So I went to Dreamforce in San Francisco 6 years in a row. We had customers in Europe. We had customers in Australia, New Zealand, like all across the US. Some of the biggest companies in the world. Like, I mean, Amazon was a customer of ours, like Wells Fargo. Like we took part in some of the biggest software deals that Salesforce had at the time. And so I was not used to like local Chattanooga, just kind of people who only do business with people in town, because our whole network was basically international, but mostly US, right? So I didn't know the Chattanooga way of doing business because I'd lived here for a long time. I just hadn't done business here.
Yeah, I get that.
Well, let's.
But
go ahead, Joel.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I probably would benefit more from maybe asking you guys some questions.
Yeah, I was going to say, the QuickBooks thing is one of the biggest factors that got us using the virtual professionals in the first place as well. It was a big pain point in our businesses. And it's common. So many of our clients that sign up is like accounting and QuickBooks is just a pain point. So that is pretty common. And now it's not a pain point for us. And it's been amazing. And so happy to kind of walk through with you like how we've kind of been using the virtual professionals or answer any questions you might have about it.
Well,
yeah,
and
go ahead, Adrian.
One thing in particular with that, because I know it popped up for another client, and I use this for QuickBooks stuff. So, so my admins, one of the things they do is our QuickBooks, and so I already had it set up. So I can't really speak to you in that and getting it set up with them. I imagine they could probably do a lot of it for you. What I do like with QuickBooks is it's super easy to have the different accounts. So it was really easy to have a separate account for admins instead of their controls within that. And then in terms of getting them the receipts, because they're like processing all my, like, I don't have billing per se. I imagine you might have some, I don't know. But my biggest thing is like they need to process all my expenses. They need to categorize it. They need to do that. So I can go in at any time and I can see my profit and loss when it's updated, right? And so my 2 big things that I would say for that part of it that might be helpful is, one, if I have a paper receipt, I take a picture and we have a folder in Google Drive that they have access to. And so I just put it on there and I write on the receipt anything they need to know to help them categorize it. And I just take a picture, I do that maybe once a week, and I upload them all to Google Drive, and they just have as part of their weekly tasking that they go in and they check that folder. And then when they check it, they rename the we're a little obsessive with our receipts, but like they rename the file to be like the date and the amount, and then they have different folders they move it to. So we know that they've touched that receipt because I just kind of put it in like a receipts folder, and then we have Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 folders, and once they handle it, in addition to uploading it on QuickBooks, they file it in those quarterly folders. So that way we know anything that's not filed is something they haven't done yet. And then for any receipts that I get via email, if it's something, or also like invoices or anything like that they need to deal with, if it's something where the email always comes through the same, like for example, our commissions, we always get an email that has the same subject line that has the attachment that shows our commission payment. And so I created an auto rule in Gmail that when that email comes in with that subject, it's just automatically forwarded to my admin. So then I'm not spending the time of manually forwarding it every time. And you could even have the rule where it like forwards it and it automatically like archives it in the right folder for you if you don't want to see it at all. I personally like to see them in my inbox and then put them in the right folder. But if you didn't care to do that, you could have it auto do it. So that lessens my load in getting the admin what they need to do their work.
Yeah, and talking about those email rules, it came up again this week. I had a new client, and they were asking about how to handle access to websites for the virtual professional that required like two-factor authentication. Like, you log in with your password, but then it sends an email with a one-time code to authenticate the new device. And they were not to the point yet where they wanted to do like full email inbox delegation to their virtual professional. They might get there, is open to it, but they just want kind of a quick solution. And so I was like, well, just create a rule in your email. I think they were using like Outlook or Office 365. And so you just create, a filter rule that is the same kind of thing as what Adrian did. Similar to accounting, you can do the same thing for any like access to websites. Create those automated rules that just forward those emails that the virtual professional needs access to directly to the virtual professional, and you can send it to their Workergenics email, or some clients like to set up their own email accounts for the virtual professional at their business domain, so they can kind of have it in their own data sphere. So that works too.
Yeah. Okay. So we could assign a email within our mountainmodernvacation.com Gmail workspace and send it there, and that way we own the dialogue as well.
One thing you might want to do for that I've been really happy, if you figure you could scale and get more people on, we have like an email. It's our client care. So I have client care at auburndale.group.com, and when we email that, it goes to all of our admins. And so because I have 4. And so it goes to all of them. And that way, couple things. If I want one person specifically to do it, I can call out that person. So I can send it to client care, but I can be like Mel or, whatever the person's name is. But that way they all know. And so they all know what's going on. If it's just helpful. It's just helpful so that it's on the loop. So if one person's sick or out, or somebody leaves for the day and another one comes in, they all know what's going on and they all have the same information. Or if it's something that's not admin specific, any of them can do it, then I just, send it to them. I'll just say admins, and they know whoever is available can just pop in and do it. So you may find that you want to do, rather than like your admin's name, you want to do something like operations or client care or hospitality or something like that. And that way it's just easier if and when you grow in the future.
If the roles change, then it's like it's help at mountainmodernvacation.com or finance at mountainmodernvacation, and then it's you can just change the logins if the multiple people need to use it, or if it changes ownership.
Yeah.
And what I like doing too is using like email aliases or groups. So we use Google Workspace a lot, so they create groups, and so you can kind of add and remove people to that group to receive the emails. We also have some
Yep.
domains that are not on Google Workspace, and I'll just use like an alias that forwards to multiple emails. So like I had one of our admins this last week set up a hip camp listing for our RV park, so people can just rent out an individual campsite. And I just created an email alias hipcamp@independencepropertyrentals.com. And it goes to me and the admins that are going to be helping manage that and deal with the messaging and setting up that listing. So yeah, I'm still like in the loop. I see what's kind of going on, but I don't have to take action on it. I don't even have to worry about forwarding it. It's already going to their emails, and I can change that as the roles change. And like you said, like if I add more people to, or they get transitioned off, because that happens. Like we have people that start out that doing one task and they stick around for a while, and we kind of like promote them to like managerial role or like operations manager, things like that, so that then as we grow and bring on more admins to our team, we're not the ones personally have to do that training. We have the person that's already been with us for a year or two that's already trained up do the training for the new hires.
That's great. I guess a question I have, because so the direction I'm going, I'm hopeful that I don't know how long our QuickBooks tasks are going to take in normal circumstances, because we've got a lot of entries that's I didn't know how long catching up was going to take, but once we get caught up, like I've got more like revenue generating tasks in mind, and like one of the things that I want to try is basically two things. One is here in Chattanooga, there's 4 or 5 key areas that people come to visit from, right? And so my hope is that we can get some direct bookings, either that or have our Airbnb listings get boosted by some free Facebook marketplace ads, because I don't know if you guys have ever tried that with your Myrtle Beach places, like if you've ever done like traffic boosting or trying to get your shoulder season numbers higher by like putting some ads out on social media or anywhere else. But that's one of my ideas, and I guess I don't know if I can explain just the concept and they can take it and run with it, or do I do the process a few times and like have it be on video or have it be recorded, or do it with them a couple times and then turn them loose? Like how should I be thinking about that?
So the first question I'll start with was like, have we done the Facebook boosting for like our rentals? We haven't done like paid boosting, but for the off season, we made Facebook Marketplace listings for our beach houses. And I'll be honest, I don't think I'm going to do it again. People who inquired were mostly just people wanting to do like long-term renting, and it was just kind of like ridiculous. I'm like, they wanted to like rent oceanfront beach house for like the off-season monthly rental for like June and July. I'm like, no, like that's
Yeah.
The listing clearly says like December through February, and people just don't read it and then just waste a bunch of time. So one thing that I would suggest,
well, I'm talking about not getting a monthly renter in that way. I'm talking about getting people to book like a weekend or a week stay or something like that.
Yeah, well, where I was going with that was maybe if you're going to have the virtual professional kind of be handling that task, have them either use their personal, or have them like create or have access to like your business Facebook page and like list it under that. So that way they're able to handle those inquiries, because you're going to get a bunch of junk inquiries that you don't want to be met, like shouldn't take up your time. And what you're trying to do anyway is just redirect to your listing. So that's something the virtual professional can just be like, hey, spend an hour in the morning, like just catching up on those messages and replying to them, and then kind of have it go from there. And then the question,
separate with the good from the bad, basically.
Right. And then, obviously any kind of question that's more detailed or something that they just don't have the answer to, they can forward on to you. And then you can handle the things that really only need your attention. And as far as like how to get that set up, it really depends on like how much detail and stuff you need to put in there. You know, an example that is relevant that's similar. Just last week we had one of our admins set up the hip camp listing. Well, I already had a website, kind of like you do for the direct booking, and so I was just like, hey, here's my website for this campground. Go to hip camp and set it up. You have all the data and details from this existing listing. Set it up over here. And we've done similar things where like we had an admin create a new VRBO listing based on all the details we had from our Airbnb listing when we started expanding and being on multiple platforms. And so that I didn't really need to give them any video or detailed instruction because those websites are kind of like self-guided anyway. Like it's just a wizard of entering this information. They already have all the stuff that can answer the questions from somewhere else. So versus like if you're having them do something new, like, you know, doing QuickBooks or something where it is not like a wizard, it is something that's really unique. That's where you doing like a video recording of yourself doing it or having more detailed instructions really is more important, I would say.
And so here's something my wife is working on right now, and she's kind of like struggling through it. She has built some very simple sites from the ground up using WordPress, like really basic stuff, right? But she is trying to get some of our newer listings on our website. And we had a professional basically set up our website, and we've been in touch with him. He tells me like this process takes 20 minutes. If you want to add a new listing to the site, it, you know, only takes this long. Well, my wife is struggling to make it happen at all, right? So, but assuming we can figure that out, is like a process such as adding a listing to WordPress something we could have the VP do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have the virtual professionals do all of our WordPress pages. Like we set them, or I set them up initially, kind of the basic structure, and like I picked a theme. And since then, honestly, they've been able to do changing even down to like CSS customization of like styles and kind of pretty advanced stuff. Now, I don't know necessarily that the virtual professional that we got you has WordPress experience. I don't recall. But it is one of those things that can be learned pretty easily. Like it's just like, hey, take a couple hours, watch some video tutorials on it. The nice thing about WordPress is that it is designed so the people that are not technical can use it and create stuff. So that is like a great candidate task for a virtual professional to handle.
Okay, that's a good one. Here's another one. I just realized that so Anna has been working just on QuickBooks stuff, and I'm considering maybe saying, hey, can we do a task that is geared towards off season, which is, you know, coming up on it. We're basically already there. Like to take, if I have like 4 or 5 listings that I want to be available for a short or a month long stay in January and February, what do I need to do to say, here's the 4 or 5 that I want listed? And like, do I need to set up a Furnish Finder account myself or a Zillow account myself and then do it? Or are you guys capable of me just saying, you know, Kiara, you're on this call, like just hearing that and say, just send us the listings. We'll create the Zillow listing or whatever it is that you found has worked for your Myrtle Beach place.
Yeah, that's what you'd probably want to do is just set up like one of those email aliases so they can create the account and you get, you know, copied on emails to make sure that like you still have login access and things like that. And you just say, hey, yeah, go create Furnish Finder account. I know we had our admins do that. And, you know, there's some steps where they need some feedback from you or to activate. I know with Furnish Finder, you have to pay kind of upfront before you can actually enter in a bunch of details. And so that's something where I actually have like a employee business card that I create, that I give access to the admins. I just like take a picture of it, and like Kiara and whoever is working with me, they have that employee credit card, so they can use it to fill out those forms or do purchases for me, like when I need to order new business cards and things like that. So I don't have to be involved in it. So, you know, I would say, you know, give a level of detail that is, and some kind of like measurable, like step by step, not step by step, but like measurable outcomes. So you can at least like give them something to aim for, and, you know, not necessarily expect them to do like this really large project all kind of in a vacuum. Say like, hey, create the account first, and then like check in and let me know, and then say, okay, the account looks good. Now let's like start with this one listing, and then go through just like one listing on one platform. Make sure like you're happy with how it looks, give feedback, have that feedback loop. So then they know what to expect, and they've done it. And then you can, depend if it's something you're going to do like every year, or like with every new listing that you get and you're planning on growing, it might be good to have them turn that into a written procedure. And so that way you have something that is allowing your business to scale more easily, because as you grow and potentially add more virtual professionals, you don't have to like redo that whole training. If they can read, which they can obviously, they can just go through that process that's already been established.
Okay. No, that makes sense. So kind of do it in stages.
Yeah, I think the stages part was good, Joel. And what I would add to that is, so I had some admin turnover, and a lot of several new admins joined my team in September. And so we found in that process, some of our old admins hadn't written as many of the procedures or been as detailed as they should have been. So as we've been kind of really going through some stuff with new people who've never done this before, and teaching them what to do, like thinking of that Facebook ads. I think of like, okay, I need to invest 20% upfront to set them up for success, and then they'll do the other 80% of the work. That's how I kind of think about it. And I need to like pause and be like, okay, what is the 20% that they need? So maybe that's, I'm going to do it once if I know it's something I'm really particular about, and that's going to take my specialized knowledge. Like if you know, like graphics or something that for the admins, if they haven't seen a specific thing. So thinking of like the Facebook ad, if you already have the graphics that you want, that's a big help, or example graphics, so they can just like they get a feel for the vibe. Otherwise, like they're in a vacuum and they're a different culture and they don't know what exactly you want. I mean, think about all the different graphics you see in marketing for American stuff alone. Like they don't know if you want to be Coca-Cola or you want to be some other business, you know, Hewlett Packard or something. They don't know what your vibe is. And so I think that giving some really specific guidance or examples on graphics is really important. What font do you like? What type of look are you going for? Very specific is important. And then, so if it's something you know really well, I'm going to do it once. I'm going to make a video and I'm going to give it to them. If it's something you've never done before, it's a question of how much do I want to control this process? How much does it take my specific knowledge? And how much do I care about like the exact details of the end product? And that's where I'm like, if I know that it's something I care a lot about and I have a very specific idea of what success looks like for that, I should probably do it once and make a video and figure it out for myself, and then have them write the procedure and do it after that. If it's something that I have that is not in my specific skill set, and it's not something that I know what success looks like too much, then I'm going to just be like, hey guys, here's kind of the concept I want. Here's the end product I want. I want you to run with it. And so it kind of depends on what I'm visualizing as that end result, how I'm going to task it.
Okay. Yeah. One thing I did this week is I got with a kind of like a regional short-term rental expert. They don't have any places in Chattanooga, but these guys showed me a process that they do. We talked about this product called Rank Breeze that shows and tracks where you are on Airbnb. Like, so it'll say for two-person occupancy, for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever the number goes up to for your place, it tracks your page ranking on Airbnb. And then you have a journal entry where you can make a change to your listing and it will track the impact of that change, right? And they also have this like optimization hub that shows here's the key terms in titles and descriptions that we see consistently on page 1 or page 2. And so he is going in every day and looking at where all of his listings are. And he's gotten to the point where with like 23 listings, nearly all of them are on page 1 of Airbnb. And so what that does is he's the always all 23 are one of the first ones looked at when anyone searches for a property. And then it's like, you have to kind of lower your price as you get closer and closer to the date. So if you're more likely to get booked earlier on, you're more likely to get the premium bookings as well. So I recorded him showing me what he did for his process, and now I've got it, and I'm going to be able to give it to Anna to repeat. And it doesn't take very much time, right? It's just like a few minutes every day to just glance and see where your places are at. So I'm leveraging other professionals if I don't have like the personal expertise. I'm bringing someone else in to make that video for me. One other question before I go. It's getting tax time. This is not really related to virtual professional, but I have a property that I've never done one of these cost segregations on. And I just wanted to ask you guys, since you have a couple of vacation rentals, have you guys done the cost segregation studies to do the bonus depreciation on anything?
Yeah, so we did cost seg on all of our properties last year, and it was amazing. Huge tax benefit. I think that some of that is getting phased out this year, so definitely you'll want to do that as for all of your properties that you can, if you haven't already, for the 2022 tax year, because it's going to be changing some of the ability to take 100% of that depreciation in 1 year is going to start getting phased out. And so you'll still get to depreciate these items. They're just going to be spread out over more period of time. I can shoot you an email with the website for the place that we used. I think it was called KBKG. Right. Yeah, KBKG. And I think it's like $500 per report. So that's like per property, you spend $500. So, depending on the property, I mean, we did it on all of ours, even like $250,000 to $300,000 condos, and it's still, the tax benefit still vastly outweighed that $500 cost.
Okay. If you could send me the contact info of the person that you used for that, and that is just for the study, do they also, I guess you take that study and give it to your CPA?
Yeah, so it's just a web form. Like you can fill it out yourself or have Anna do it. And then, assuming you have like details of the property for her, a lot of it is just like tax record stuff, and then like your purchase price, and selecting the kind of furnishings that are inside, like if it's hardwoods or carpet or laminate, and what percentage of the house is those types of furnishings. So they then do all the calculations, print out a report that you're able to hand to your CPA, and they do, I forget the form, it's like Schedule 530 or something, where it like adjusts your depreciation and calls those things out. And one thing to keep in mind, if you are doing that and then going to apply for some mortgages to like buy additional property, most lenders don't know how to interpret that. Like we had several situations where we gave a lender our tax return, and I was like, our CPA made a special like addendum spreadsheet with all of our properties detailing all the depreciation and what the final numbers should look like for like the lender forms. And they just were like, they had no clue, like, well, you guys made no money last year. Well, I'm like, well, yeah, we didn't make any money that we had to pay taxes on, but we made money.
Yeah.
And like, your lenders are supposed to, on those loan applications, add back in depreciable items to your income.
Right.
And so
Yep.
many didn't, because the cost seg depreciation got listed under like other expenses on the tax form on Schedule E, and then there was a clear note saying like see addendum, and it had the full depreciation schedule there and all this stuff. And they just don't know how to handle that, because it's kind of an unusual thing. Typically, you do it only one time when you get the property. Although I've seen some strategies where people do it after renovations and things like that, but that's kind of getting advanced.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I want to, if it's that easy to do, I probably want to see what it could do for me this year. Because the one property that I have that's available to it, I already found out that even though we put it into service as a short-term rental in 2020, that it doesn't matter. They can do like a, catch up on it. So
Yeah, like we had never done cost segs before, and I mean, we've owned properties for investment purposes since 2016. And so even though it'd been 4 or 5 years from owning property, we could still do the cost seg study, and the CPA just does some paperwork magic with changing our depreciation schedules, because they have to kind of like add back what you've already deducted from the normal long term and stuff like that. You definitely need a CPA who's familiar with doing that stuff.
Okay, cool. Well, I will end it there. So go on and respect everyone's time. But appreciate the knowledge, guys. I'm glad I got to connect with you today.
Of course. Thanks for joining us, Joel.
Yeah, nice to get to meet you, Joel.
Nice to meet you guys. Bye.
Hey, Lindsay. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Lindsay.
How are you?
Hey. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, a link came through and I didn't know what was going on, and we have the flu with just about everybody in our house. So I was like, I've missed something, and so I don't know if I was actually supposed to pop in there or not, and I didn't want to leave and be rude. So am I supposed to be here?
You're welcome to be here.
Okay.
So,
it's nice to meet you, Harley.
Yeah, it's nice to finally meet you as well.
And we all had the flu starting before Thanksgiving, so I feel for you.
It's the girls are so upset. Like Madison is running around with a Lysol bottle because she's the last man standing. And she's like, I'm not gonna get sick. And yeah, they're missing all their Christmas parties this week. So they're just disappointed. But so tell me what I'm supposed to be doing here.
Yeah, so this is just kind of a time where all of our Workogenics family can get together and talk about how things are going. Like we did kind of a deep dive with Joel there on his short-term rentals and property management and things like that. If there's questions with like the Workogenics services, or like how best to utilize the virtual professionals, we can talk about that, and just kind of sharing tips and ways we use them. So like we had talked quite a bit about using the virtual professionals for doing like our QuickBooks accounting. That was a major thing that Joel was interested in, and he's having his virtual professional do. And so Adrian and I shared, that was the major impetus for us starting using the virtual professionals, was QuickBooks pain point in our businesses. So we can definitely relate to that. And it's really open-ended. Sometimes we have an agenda. Sometimes we'll have a special speaker that comes on and talks about something like maybe social media marketing or something like that.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
How are things going with you guys and your virtual professional? I think it's just been a week.
Yeah, it's been, I guess, a week, and then we've been in and out because of bugs. But she's doing really well. I think you right out of that hat, I wasn't sure exactly what to delegate. And then I was like, oh, well, I can do more. So I just threw it all at her. And then now I'm like, okay, we got to backpedal a little bit and get more comfortable. So we're going to take baby steps and just kind of build on to it. So she's got 3 buckets right now she's working on. And as soon as she gets more comfortable with those 3 items, we'll add additional things. But yeah, things are going pretty well. She takes lots of notes and is very, very nice. Like one of the nicest people I think I've ever talked to. So
that's great feedback. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It is something, especially when they're new to you, is you got to kind of have that honeymoon period of really making sure you are giving like small, manageable tasks and having some feedback. So that way you both have a chance to kind of learn how what your preferences are, so they know how you like things to be done. And as you get through that first month or two, it becomes a lot easier to just give like short, quick messages. Like right now with Kiara, she's been working with me for almost a year now, so I can just like send her a chat message and be like, hey, I need this and that done. And it's like a pretty big task, but she just knows like my level of expectations and the way I like things done, and doesn't need a lot of feedback and hand holding. Versus like when you first get started, yeah, you got to have like step-by-step instructions, or at least ask for small like steps with like measurable outcomes that you can then kind of check and give feedback so they get through that process.
Yeah, that's basically what I've realized the last like 3 days. So we've gotten to a good groove right now, and we're starting to test it more and getting familiar with. I think one of the biggest hurdles has been, though her English is wonderful, her knowledge of some of the construction details, I think, has been a little tricky. And she's picking it up and she's Googling and figuring it out. And we've got all sorts of other resources for her to go and check through pictures and things. So it's working, but I didn't realize it at first. And now that I do know, I've slowed down and made a couple extra minutes to explain what's going on. So she's doing really well.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good feedback. And it's good that you're making those adjustments too. I think Adrian
I'm
probably has some
curious.
experience on that side.
Well, when you say construction, you mean like home construction stuff, like when she's filling out a form, or what kind of construction?
Like just basic stuff like the exterior materials or the type of foundation or what the roof design is, or even, it's hard because we got to go back and forth between VIN numbers and prior policies and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of information she's getting, even though we're just in this one baby step bucket. So I just told her, we're gonna sit here for a while until you master this, and I'm not gonna move on until you feel real comfortable. So, and all these dual authentication things, though they're great, and I know why we have them, they've created a lot of roadblocks for us. So that's also forced us to take some time to really master this step one. So until we can really figure that out, I'm not sure what the next step's going to look like. So we just kind of have to play around with it, and that gives us some time to do that and prepare. So
Well, that construction material issue is kind of funny. Even one of our au pairs that we had, they were, when they first came here, they're like, your buildings, like they're built out of like other materials other than cinder block. Like this is so bizarre, because I think, was it Camila that was saying that, or was it Ingrid? Adrian, do you remember?
It was Ingrid.
Okay, yeah. So she was from Brazil, and so it's like everything is just cinder block built down there, and it's very unusual to have like other kind of finishings in construction, and especially like air conditioning.
I would say for something like that too, I would say maybe part of her learning this is her creating a guide on that for future admins. And like, because especially if she's looking at pictures, and kind of be like, these are the choices, and here are example pictures of what this looks like. Like, this is what a metal roof looks like. Here's what an asphalt shingle looks like here. And maybe like a picture like that, and like because I don't know how you guys do it, but like on our side, an asphalt shingle roof, there's a few different things that we might describe it as. Like we might have architectural shingle and 3-tab shingle, and like for when we're putting in a listing, we've had similar issues when we put in a listing. Like we have to be super specific with some of these, and they don't always know. So there's 2 ways you could do it. Sometimes for a listing, when it's super specific stuff, we have like a Google form and or a sheet, and the listing agent puts in the stuff that's like specific to that house, that there's no way an admin could know. Even if the admin was sitting right next to me, like they're not going to know. They haven't been to the house. They don't know if there's gas or electric there or things like that. And that's one way. That's something where like you put in what you have to know with your stuff, and they fill in all the gaps. The other thing is, if it's something that they will be able to find, they will be able to look at pictures and know, I would say have her make a guide where she kind of says, here are the choices and here are examples. So when it looks like this is what you choose. When it looks like this is what you choose. So
Okay.
that future admins will know. And you don't have
That's
to
a great
keep
idea. Okay, thank you. Yeah, sweet. I like that. That'll probably help her learn and really understand what she's doing too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I imagine she might
Makes
be
a good
able to,
teacher.
once she's familiar with the materials, be able to do something where like using, Google Earth or Google Maps, do like Street View and just
Yeah.
go and, she can observe and get a pretty good estimate of what most of those materials are.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I will do that. That'll be a great job for her to do the rest of the week.
I have to run because I have to have something else at 1 o'clock. But
Yep.
I will see you guys later.
All right, thanks, Adrian.
Sounds good. All right. I mean, is there anything else that you need from,
Yeah, if you have more questions, or have you guys been using the task portal, or do you guys have your own system for doing tasking with your virtual
so
professional?
yeah, she's been putting in like the main bulk bullet points. Um, I just have not had a chance to play with it. And she said that she would kind of do it for now anyway, which is fine with me. Because as long as we're just kind of sending her like a quote sheet, just saying, hey, go from here, plug it into easy links and doing that via email. We're not really going customer by customer. Is that something that you would like to see her track?
It's totally up to you.
Okay. Okay.
It's totally just how you guys like your workflow to go and what information you like to see. I personally have all the admins, when they are doing things for me, make a task. I'm like, even if it's small and they're going to do it in 20 minutes, like if I chat them and be like, hey, I need you to like make a graphic for social media, I just got this good idea. I want them to make a task for it and like copy and paste whatever instructions I gave them and do the time tracker on it. That way I have data. Like, I'm an engineer by training. I like to go periodically and look at the summary level information from Monday and see like, how long have they been spending on average on social media tasks? Or how long does it take my admin who does my QuickBooks every week to do the accounting? Just so like I can know like what to expect as my business grows and we scale. Okay, well, he's spending this long doing that, and he's doing this on this many properties for us that we own. If we add an RV park or something else, I know that I probably going to need to hire somebody else because there's more than 40 hours worth of work going on there. And it's just like having those numbers and stuff. We're doing like the higher level business analysis on a quarterly or semi-annual basis. I find to be really helpful.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. I'll keep that in mind as I'm giving her things and kind of watching what she puts in there. Be mindful of that. Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's totally optional too. Like, I've got some clients, they don't use the task portal at all. They already were set up using something like Asana, or they use like just Google Sheets. And
Okay.
it's just, it's a tool that is available to use. I have found that it is what I use for all of our internal tasking. It's the exact same setup. And so I found it to be really helpful. We have had some clients that have customized it. They had like a column that would be like categories. And so they would have a category that's like social media. They would have a category that's like their website or HR, things like
Okay.
that.
Like funnels.
hmm
Sort of thing.
And
Okay.
then they can create different views on the task board that filter specifically for those. So like the client, they didn't necessarily like seeing like all the tasks in one view. They got kind of overwhelmed. And so they can just create separate tabs in that task board that it's like, okay, here's just my social media tasks. Or here, they could also do like calendar views and filter on stuff that's just coming up with a due date of today or tomorrow. So then they can just go and quickly see, here's all the things that are due tomorrow. So I kind of can do that daily check-in with the virtual professional and be on the same page on what's coming down the pipe.
Okay. Okay. Sounds very, that style and that format sounds very similar to the program we use for tracking customer jobs. So, and I've thought about giving her access to that, but I wanted to master this one program first. So,
yeah, that's really smart.
Yeah.
We have definitely seen situations where we get someone new and we're like so excited. I'm like, all right, here's all the things I want you to do. And then they just kind of freak out because it's like they don't know what to work on. I've given them like 50 tasks and they're just like, I can't do this. And I have to like reassure them, like, okay, you and I as business owners, we don't have time to like put one task in and then wait for you to do it and then give you another task. Like we get these kind of batch times where like, all right, the kids are handled. I got 10 minutes to sit at the computer. I'm going to put all the tasks I've been thinking about over the last week in at that time, and I'll prioritize them and set due dates. But I need you to just work through the highest priority and based on due date, and don't stress that there's 50 other tasks, because that's just how the time I have to like enter them in.
Okay. Okay. So she had, for example, one of the tasks she had entered was working on social media, and it's just kind of an ongoing thing. So that one, I kind of, when she did that, I was like, well, I kind of would think it'd be easier to manage if it was broken out, but I'll talk to her about that, and we'll see how we can kind of make that a little bit more trackable than just one generic.
So things that
entry.
are repeated, like what I do for social media or for Kiara for her general admin tasks, I ask that she creates a task for it and tracks it, but do it weekly. So that way I kind of get an idea of like, all right, well, how much time are you spending doing these things on a weekly basis? That's a lot more meaningful to me than having this one ongoing task that has been going for 3 months and has 300 hours of time spent on it.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Good advice. Okay. Well, I should probably go. I've got one kid in the bathtub and asking for lunch. So
awesome. Well, I'm glad you were able to hop in and join us.
Other job. Yeah,
So
thank you.
Lindsay.
So this is once a month, every Tuesday. Come with questions.
Yeah, second Wednesday of the month.
Second Wednesday. Okay.
Bring your questions,
Sounds
and of
good.
course, like you and Chad are welcome to reach out any other time and chat as well.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much, y'all.
All right, we'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right, thank you, Kiara.